SaSe versus Sheth. Now, for any of you who have just tuned in and want to know what has been happening in the brackets, let's go ahead and take a look at the Championship Sunday bracket here at the Red Bull LAN, where we do see that in that top side, JYP has taken down Maro narrowly 2-1, taken down Hasuabs narrowly 2-1, and is in the semifinal, and we're currently hanging out in SaSe versus Sheth. Also coming up, Naniwa versus Thorzane, Swede versus Swede, and Parting versus Rhett, a rematch of the practice game we saw yesterday.
Yeah, some great matches still ahead of us. JYP already sitting in the semifinals. Who will be joining them from these two players? Will it be Liquid Sheth, or will it be Quantic SaSe? The game number 2 is counting down. We're going to be on Metalopolis this time around, and we're hopping into the game right now. Can Sheth overcome some unorthodox play from SaSe that did kind of work itself out? As you show there, note there is no gold in the middle, so always nice to see.
We see the nice, lovely pastels showing up as SaSe chooses the ghostly pink, Sheth chooses the deep, rich purple. And on the right side, we have Quantic SaSe as the Protoss. And on the left, as the Zerg from Team Liquid, it is Sheth, who is always a crowd favorite. Right, crowd?
The third was lost there on that initial push that we saw from Sheth, and that certainly did put him behind. He had some good battles with those roaches, but, you know, one thing I really liked about that last game from Sheth was the counterattacks. You know, try to force your Protoss opponent to come back, and they have to make that decision of, do I press forward? Can I press forward? Do I need to go back? Can I warp in enough units to actually stop what's happening here? But, you know, on the other end, SaSe with his little hallucination tricks, like, oh, he's just hallucinating Phoenix as a warp prism, and then suddenly the real thing actually shows up. That's just really, really unique play, and I'm constantly amazed by him.
You know, I've always admired SaSe's use of the robotics facility in this matchup. I mean, obviously because he builds the warp prism, which instantly makes him in the top 2 of awesome Protoss players. The other one, no doubt, being White Ra. But the fact that he's going for double robo in his mid games always means he can do these very odd push timings. You know, there's this term that my brother uses a lot in his cast, saying that the robo scales linearly, where the gateways can scale however you want them to. In other words, if you finish a Dark Shrine and you have 8 gateways, you can immediately build 8 Dark Templar instantly. But if you have 1 robo, you're rarely going to have more. Actually, you're rarely going to have 8 robos, I guess is the way to put it. So it's very difficult to get 8 Colossi or 8 Immortals out on the field, and a lot of players count on that in their timing. So SaSe, where most players would be adding on gateways 5 and 6 or even 7 and 8, he adds on Robo 2 very early and reinforces his pushes with Immortals rather than gateway units.
Now this is kind of interesting because Sheth opened with 14 gas, 14 pool, maybe anticipating the fact that SaSe may not wall off again, and he did not, and he's got a single Zealot coming out, but I wonder if Sheth has any possible aggression in mind here, as he is getting speed rather early, and of course this is a grand variation away from what we've seen in the past, where sometimes we won't see speed until the 5 or 6 minute mark. He's still going to get these lings out, get this hatchery down, but if he goes over and scouts and sees that his opponent did pretty much the exact same thing, he might be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Sheth has been playing on Metalopolis forever as his favorite map. He always chooses it when he is down in a tournament. Not surprised to see him choosing one down here as he is down in this tournament match. He has a very comfortable opening, getting the Zergling speed up, which essentially denies almost any kind of early expansion. Unless the player is chrono boosting out gateway units real quick, he's going to have a difficult time dealing with that. And right off the bat, SaSe having a nice read, pushing back with his Zealots, trying to make sure Sheth does not get into that main.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want to. Now, when speed is done, it is going to be an advantage to the Zerglings, but with 3 Zealots here, he is able to wall off, and now SaSe has a great little beefy Zealot wall there that will be almost impossible, at least not without great losses for these Lings to get through. And that means that Sheth's just going to back off a little bit, use those Lings for scouting purposes, and more gateways are now going down for SaSe as we see gateway number 3 on the way. Sheth is going to bring his Overlord in, because having not fast expanded, Sheth's probably really wondering what exactly is going on inside, especially when you just see the 3 Zealots. You're like, okay, that's 300 minerals. Where is all the gas going? And he's still searching for the answer to that.
And I really love the fact that SaSe spreads out all of his warp gates. Because they warp, they don't actually need to be in anywhere convenient, which means you can hide them a lot more easily than you could, say, barracks or factories. It really should be closer to the front lines. So SaSe exploiting this, making himself a little bit more difficult to scout, but Sheth still manages to poke in there, see everything that's going on. And at this point in time, a lot of Zergs would be feeling a little uncomfortable going for a Roach Warren with some kind of defense, but Sheth has these speed Zerglings up. He has a lot of speed Zerglings, and if SaSe's not careful, they could sweep in and do a lot of damage. He's still going to try to chew away at the backside of the Nexus.
And he's going to go ahead and try to get some munches off. The force fields go down. 3 are thrown. There's still a couple of left over. And, you know, sometimes you can slip by there, and you can actually get, you might get this probe, which will stop that gateway from going down, but more force fields forcing those lings out. He won't be able to prevent that any longer. The Nexus down as well. He'll just have to keep those lings there to actually just, you know, watch his opponent. When is he going to move out? And now the Forge completes. SaSe still manages, despite the fact that he has opened now with, you know, a complete non-wall off. A lot of times, as you mentioned, you'd see a Protoss do that, and you'd be like, what is the Protoss doing? But SaSe feeling comfortable and just changing the way that he's approaching this matchup.
And right now we do see Sheth just taking a third. This is fairly bold. A lot of players have incredible discomfort at this point, going, ooh, he's building a lot of Zealot Sentry. If he attacks, I only have Zerglings. But Sheth has been keeping a hawk's eye on the mini-map. Look at the Zergling here, ready to block the proxy. Same with the Zergling here. Actually, even neglecting to take this back one because, hey, he already has some nice coverage of vision on these angles. So, of course, he can delay the Roach Warren until right now with his Evo Chamber, enabling him to get this expansion up a little bit earlier. So I love, again, attacks have a ton of different purposes in StarCraft 2. Sheth's was to buy time to macro up, and that's exactly what he did. 54 drones to 37 probes.
That's pretty crazy that he's able to actually spread it out that much. And here we only have 1 sentry in the back. The sentry does get a force field down, but he actually cuts off the Zealot, meaning that sentry is going to fall. He might be able to squeeze in a few lings into the top, and he does. And then, oh my gosh, a great force field at the top of the ramp. Stops only, but he still loses it. Wow, surprising. I thought for sure he was going to be able to take both those out, but some quick reactions by both players.
Now, it's almost funny because very regularly a player will say, oh, I'm Zerg, I'm choosing Metalopolis because you, Protoss, can't early expand. Haha. But now we see SaSe electing to early expand on Antigua. There's no doubt in my mind he's more than comfortable with non-early expand strategies like what we see in this game. SaSe now scouting forward with that Phoenix. He's going to be shocked to see that completely done right now. And at this point in time, Sheth is just going to be building as many roaches as he damn well pleases.
Yep, and we have a few lings running by as well. And the army is moving out. Is there a forward pylon yet? I do not believe so. Lings might be able to squeeze into the main here. He did not. There's only the 1 cannon at the natural.
Ooh, and he may actually go. He's going to have to force field quickly, and he nails it. Great job there by SaSe. At the front of the base, though, it looks like SaSe has retreated.
And, you know, SaSe retreating, he knows that, or Sheth knows that his army is somewhere around the map. He's not able to pick off those Zerglings. A few force fields are thrown down, just kind of waste up some energy. And the Link's going to go in yet again. A couple things that he's also checking for here as he tries to pick off that sentry, but also seeing the Forge spinning, knowing that he's continuing his upgrades, seeing the +1 there before. So gathering that information at the cost of, you know, a few Links.
I think that's a great point. I mean, the ability to check that out, to be able to see, oh, aha, +1's done. +2 must be coming up. Or it looks like his opponent is expending a lot on a 1-1 upgrade. So that could signify Robo as well. Either way, you know that your opponent probably isn't gearing up for some sort of 6 warp gate push, some sort of all-in strategy. You know he's at the very least going long-term, and this enables Sheth to take another expansion, which is exactly what he's doing. Meanwhile, in the main, we do see that burrow is coming up. Love that upgrade choice by Sheth, and an infestation pit, but he's going to need to get a nice angle with this Ling Roach army to pick off this big gateway force moving up for SaSe.
And here we have the pylon going down, which means that undoubtedly we'll see a little bit of aggression. Going to throw down a pylon right next to that hatchery as well. They're going to be buddies. And he's going to force a cancel on that, rightfully so. Now, this is always an interesting position because, of course, force fields will definitely favor the Protoss, but he also doesn't have vision necessarily up the ramp. So a hallucination for the vision. The force fields go down, but a lot of roaches actually on the wrong side of them. And there's the burrow to stop him, but the observer comes in just in time.
And it looks like Ling Roaches just trying to gather and cuddle up with all those Protoss units. And now he's going to pull back into open fields, make sure he can get a good angle as those 20 Roaches are still in production. 20 Roaches, that's 40 food worth of units, not at the front line. There's the blink back. More force fields get thrown, and the drones step up into the fray, tired of their long work days, taking the rage out on those stalkers. Whoops, accidentally shooting the statue. SaSe misclicking a slight bit, and it looks like SaSe with a nice blink micro, catching Sheth a bit off guard, but Sheth with a great response, sending those spine crawlers up to the front lines.
And he will hold this off. He's going to eventually force these stalkers back. Blink micro still in full effect here for SaSe as he works in more stalkers. He's being stubborn. He doesn't want to give it up, and he somehow manages to push these Roaches back. There are a couple of spine crawlers inside, and of course Roaches reinforcing with 9 more on the way, and Festers on their way out as well, and that +2 range attack going to be coming eventually. But getting these free down, he could really use the fight, or use these spine crawlers in this fight. And also, how many drones were killed? Wow, 25 drones in that engagement.
SaSe is just incredible at this timing. It looked like it was going to be a standard push forward and pull back, and it looks like Sheth, a genius decision. I think this is absolutely correct for Sheth at this point in time. He lost all those drones. Why keep the expansion alive? He wouldn't be able to saturate it, and SaSe takes a nice advantage, and all Sheth wants to do is throw up in a way that helps him block the third.
And now the first infester is out. He's got to be careful as well with these overlords that are kind of floating right above the army. He can't afford to get supply blocked at this time. And the stalker count is just so high, in up to 34 at this point. And there's 33 Roaches out right now. Does have Burrow, does not have Tunneling Claws yet. Let me double. Nope, does not have Tunneling Claws yet, but still using Burrow to heal those guys up. And of course, just to avoid some of that damage. A few more infestors being thrown in here, and he's going to move down the west side of the map.
And look at, again, cool decision-making by SaSe. He has 1 robo facility, and he's making a second. I've already built all the stalkers I need. Time to chrono boost out, double Colossus, or even double Immortal. Anything he wants to do now, he can reinforce. The one issue SaSe is going to have is trying to get up a third base.
SaSe so aware of what's going on with this observer that's following around the base. He brought some stalkers up to the side so that he could possibly flank with those stalkers if need be. But now he's going to actually choose to just back off. He doesn't want to yet engage with this army. He had the advantage before, but if you don't have the advantage, there's no reason why to push the issue. So he's going to go ahead and move back. He's going to have to get rid of one of these buildings in order to get back into his base, but it won't even matter at this point because Sheth has moved back. He can continue on. We found the pylon up in the northeast. That will get taken out, and I imagine that possibly, well, the third is about back up for Sheth.
Nice job by Sheth picking off all of those pylons.
Yep.
SaSe is doing a little bit of an all-in-ish play. I mean, if you look in his main, several fields are mined out at the natural expansions, not looking too much thicker on the mineral swell either. And we see that SaSe is repositioning himself nicely. Will very happily have 4 Colossus quite soon. And at this point in time, Sheth is going to be in an awkward position worker-wise. He doesn't have enough to support 3 bases, let alone his 2 fully. He actually needs a little bit more, like 60 or 55 to be able to support that. So now as SaSe moves down to take this 3rd expansion, this is the one thing that could help buy Sheth enough time to get his footing.
And he's going to move forward right now. Colossus kind of in a bad position there.
Oh,
He's
no
got to
range.
bring those back.
Oh, he doesn't have range. Colossus 1 falls. Colossus 2 is also down. Oh, Sheth with an incredible moment of luck right there, right before the range finishes. An amazing timing by Sheth as he's moving forward. But SaSe just has so many stalkers.
Yeah, they're also at +2, matching the Roaches as well, doing that additional damage or bonus damage. And now we have the stalkers pretty much winning that, blinking forward. There's the Burrow, but the observer still exists and allows him to continue that damage. Now, one thing he did throw down, he did like queue up that Nexus at the 3rd, and the creep was still there, so the probe is there, maybe thinking he had thrown it down, but there he finally just did in the midst of that battle while he chases his opponent down. The big question now, Sean, is,
a good game.
GG.
SaSe, after playing phenomenally well in game number 1, responding to that counterattack, after playing really well in game number 2, just with a very standard 3-gate expand. But, I mean, you have to know your timing spot on as SaSe to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, my big question was going to be, what does Sheth do? And GG was the answer. So SaSe continuing to impress here as he moves on. Congratulations to him. He's really, really sort of defining himself as a, unique Protoss player. And Sheth, let's give it up for him. He had a great training session here. His challenges over the course of the weekend. He'll be going into a competition next week at MLG Columbus, and we certainly wish him luck. Sad to see him go, but SaSe advances.
At the same time, that there's a little bit of that metagame consideration as you see Sheth rewatching the replay there. I mean, if you think about the fact that SaSe knows that Sheth is practicing 3 base versus 2 base. And all of a sudden, SaSe opens up 1 base, and he doesn't go for the early expand. He doesn't try to do anything that Sheth's been practicing. And Sheth, I think, had to rely a little bit more on, I guess I'd say, year-old knowledge or 9 months old knowledge. There's so few players who do that all of a sudden all your practice that's focused on the new modern stuff, while all the old 1 base anti-stuff, it has time to atrophy. So Sheth had a little bit of bumpiness there defending that push, didn't even get the pathogen glance for the infestor, so it looked like he was caught off guard just a smidge.
Yep, and could not pull it back. SaSe, with his unique play, does pull it out. And that means that he'll advance to play JYP in the semifinals. That will be, I'm sure, a very intense PvP. Coming up in just a few moments, it is going to be Thorzane versus Naniwa, if I'm not mistaken.
think that's going to be a huge fan favorite, as a lot of people love both the styles of those players. Thorzane, our focus player, incredible TVPer. Naniwa, many consider him top 3 Protoss in the world. So let's go ahead and head to a break and set him up so that way we can be back as fast as possible for the 3rd match we'll be casting today. I'm Day 9.
And I'm DJ Wheat. Join us after this quick break for more Round of 8 action at the Red Bull LAN Orlando. We'll be right back.